lined up against such among the awesome power of this new bunch of crusaders. JR, one of the things I'd like to say to you is, you know, our respected elder who departed and is now with the ancestors, Kwame Ture always used to remind us. He said, the imperialists don't lie sometimes. They lie all the time. There, I was watching TV, and I'm watching this bare-faced liar, David Cameron, saying that they're in there to protect Libyan citizens. It's interesting. When the rebels are heavily armed and they're shelling the revolutionary forces, right? But nobody speaks about the rebels killing people.
Right.
Nobody, the rebels are advancing, they're shooting, they're capturing, but they're not killing anyone. But the revolutionary forces are killing. When the revolutionary forces retaliate and they're fighting to defend themselves, they're killing citizens, they're killing civilians. It's interesting. I mean, we're listening to this nonsense. This is an armed rebellion. These people were given weapons. The first time when the uprising, the rebellion started and the security forces went in, there were people who were snipers were shooting at the security forces. This is an armed rebellion, and there's evidence that there's concrete evidence that Al-Qaeda is in there, right? The other thing I want to mention, one of the Al-Qaeda commanders in there, right, who is now, it's all over the net, you can read it. This is a man who was captured in Afghanistan, okay? He's Libyan, and he was handed over to the Libyan government by the Americans. He was later freed by Gaddafi's regime. Now, if Muammar Gaddafi was such a tyrant or a murderer, why did he allow this man to go free? In fact, they started releasing members of the LIFG, the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, about 3 years ago, long before all of this thing is happening. They were releasing them and putting them back, trying to rehabilitate them and bring them back in the community. So why are they saying if this man was such a vicious man, these people would have died a long time? I mean, could you imagine, with all respect, I don't want to get into this, if a captured Iraqi was handed back to Saddam Hussein at the time, he would not have been alive to be fighting again. So I'm trying to show you this man that they're trying to portray as some tyrant, right?
Right.
He is not. He is not. This is a man who, people who know this man know that this man is a man who basically, if you read his green book, you'll see it. This is a man who over the years has stood for peace, right? There are many conflicts. Look, the other day, there was I think that 2 years ago, there was a huge Tuareg rebellion against the governments of Mali and Niger. And the talks were held, the broker talks in Libya, in the city of Sirte. And it came to, you know, they agreed on a number of issues and so. Now, the Tuaregs are saying that they're going to defend him. In the words of one Tuareg lieutenant, he said, everybody forgot, we were forgotten by everybody, right? But Gaddafi helped us. When we were sick, when our children were ill, he sent aircraft to lift us to medical treatment and carry us back. So he said, we are here to fight for him. It's interesting that when Africans go to Libya to fight for Pan-African leader, they're deemed mercenaries, right? But the West can go in, and France now is talking about arming these Islamist terrorists. That's what they are. They're Islamist terrorists. These people who are waging this battle against Gaddafi are masquerading under the banner of Islam. These people are terrorists who would kill not just Muslims, but would kill Christians. And we as Pan-Africanists and who come out, we know that in our tradition, all the prophets were black, all the prophets were Africans. So we don't make distinction among our people as black people, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, or whether the original Hebrews. We're not talking about the Zionists and things. So we know this. So we are not into any pan-Islamic project. I'm not no pan-Islamic or pan-Islamist or any nonsense. I'm opposed to that. I'm a Pan-Africanist. And I believe that we have to bring all of our people, African black people, together under one banner, whether we're Muslims, whether we're Christians, or whether we are Hebrews, the black Hebrews. They're a bunch of neo-feudalists who would like to set up, their objective is an Islamic Arab Emirate. And they're waving those French flags and the U.S. flags to fool the American and the public and the world. But once if they are able to roll back this revolution and seize power, it's going to be a different thing. You're going to see what is going to play out. And it's going to be worse than Iraq.
Can you talk a little bit about the red, black, and green flag that is being flown by the rebels?
The red, black, and green with the crescent. The crescent is on it. That's the flag of the flag during the Senussi period. That's the monarch, the flag of the monarchists. Those flags, as somebody asked the question, where were those flags? Were they on the beds or in cupboards for the past 40 years? Those flags were manufactured and brought in, right? And there are other forces behind that. Those flags is just like when they had the uprising in Lebanon, you saw all those thousands of Lebanese flags that were made in another part of the world and flown in. It's the same thing playing out here. It's the same thing. And while the battle for Libya is going on, they're trying to push out a progressive Pan-Africanist, a man who's resisting neo-colonialism in Cote d'Ivoire.
Speak to that a little bit for people that don't know.
Yeah, well, Laurent Gbagbo is, as you know, a very brilliant man. He's a fine mind, a historian, a man who understands the issues. What happened is, they had these elections, and the authorities, the responsible authorities in Cote d'Ivoire said they put a thing on it, a hold in it, because they said that Laurent Gbagbo is still the president because there was huge irregularities and padding of ballot boxes. For example, as was pointed out by one of Laurent Gbagbo's representatives, in the area where the rebels are, right, the amount of votes coming from that area, the amount of people who voted or turned up was more than the people that they have living in the area. So a lot of people, Gbagbo's supporters, couldn't even go to the polls because they were intimidated by the rebels, right?
Right.
So the court said, look, hold this. But they're not interested in that. External forces don't want to see. They don't want to rerun. They don't want to examine anything. They just want to put in their boy, their puppet, who will help facilitate the plunder of the resources, make the cheaper cocoa, cheaper coffee, whatever. You know? And there's evidence that France was training and arming those rebels in a neighboring country. And they're trying to portray Laurent Gbagbo. This is what they do to progressive and revolutionary African leaders. You know, Gbagbo has no assets in France or anyway. This is a man that I wonder why the youth, the young people, the young patriots, why the youth and the poor are ready to die for him. So this is going to be another drawn-out struggle. What we're witnessing here in Africa now, the battle lines are, being drawn. We're heading up for conflict. The leaders and forces that are committed to the Pan-African project, to the African Unity Project, we're witnessing they're coming under fire by the imperialists and the facilitators in the continent. And we have to stand with them. You know, it's interesting that we should go over now to Haiti, where they allow Papa Doc's son, baby Doc, to return. But when Aristide, who commands popular support at the grassroots level, was ready to leave, why would the Americans call on Zuma to tell Zuma they were worried about him going back?
Right.
I mean, these are glaring, this is hypocrisy to the highest. Baby Doc looted his country. Jean-Bertrand Aristide was extremely popular, still is popular, and if they hold a free and fair elections tomorrow, will sweep the polls. This is a man that refused to allow the IMF and the World Bank to dictate to him. If France is so much interested in democracy and human dignity, why the hell France is still taking reparations? The descendants of slaves got to pay the French because for their ancestors who enslaved our people.
Right.
You know, Haiti won its independence. Haiti won its independence, and Haiti has to be, instead of they giving us reparations, Haiti has to be repaying France, because our ancestors smashed the entire system of slavery, establishing an independent republic.
And many believe that Aristide was overthrown because he demanded that France give that money back.
That's right. He was removed at gunpoint and put on a plane by some of the very forces who are bombing the hell out of Libya today. The United States, Canada, France, and all of them. They were involved in moving Aristide out of that country. You know, and this is France that is standing now but they're going to protect the Libyan people. What hypocrisy. Such bare-faced liars they are. And it's time our people wake up to this nonsense.
For those that are just tuning in, we are talking to Gerald Pereira, a journalist who has lived extensively and worked extensively inside of the country of Libya. Gerald, we're running out of time.
Yes, bro.
Can you give us your last comments? I mean, we're going to come and get at you, during this conflict. Hopefully the conflict will be over soon. But can you give us, what are your last remarks? What do you think that we should be remembering about Libya or this conflict?
I would like to say this, bro. My brother, I let the world know. I think there's a number of articles that people should check online. There's an excellent piece came out, an open letter to Muammar Gaddafi, the Colonel Gaddafi. It's on the web. Written, it's a beautiful piece for everyone to read. And I want people to know that what they're the way they're trying to portray this man, it's a campaign of disinformation and lies. And what is important as Pan-Africanists and as progressive people and revolutionary forces all over is that we should call in our collective voices to get this imperialist, this campaign that is being waged against Libya to come to a halt.
You were just listening to the voice of Gerald Pereira, who is a journalist who has lived and worked extensively in the country of Libya. I am the Minister of Information, JR, for BlockReportRadio.com. And until next time, we out.